Visio looks like. So how do you get to that? You just go there under all programs, you go to Microsoft Office, and depending upon what version of the Office you have, you select the Visio, and that takes you over here. Now what do we see here? We have a different type of a diagram. You have a flowchart, you have anything general, you just want to do the visual representation, that's what you have here. And if you are trying to go very specific in terms of very specific diagram, for example, you see a network diagram, you go there. If you want to start off blank and do some kind of a mix and merge, that also you can do that, and then you start with blank. You have a very basic diagram, very generic flow. Workflows, if you're trying to create a workflow for some type of a process or something, you can go there. Business to business, like kind of a business process model kind of a thing, you can go there. So what do we see here is, there are many ways to create the diagram. See here, this is for the maps and the floor plans. So you have a very specific to creating a blueprint of any architecture or any architectural diagram for the system or for the house, apartment, all those type of things. So let's start up with a basic flowchart diagram first, and then we will go to the little aggressive one. I just clicked, if you see, I will go back to home, and here I see all the different diagrams, and from there I just want to go to the flowchart. So I click on flowchart. Under flowchart also you have a different type of a flowchart diagram. So for example, if I just take a basic flowchart diagram, so I take basic flowchart and just say create. So this is going to give me all the different notations to create the basic flowchart diagram. So let's start. I start with the process. This is my process, and this is, let's give some name to it. So I go there, page, right click on it and rename it. So I said, give me the function which you want to create. So let's say order management. Order management. So that means I'm trying to create a flow chart for order management. Now order management, I'll start with the customer. You have a placing order. That is the very simple thing to start up with. So I say the customer is trying to place the order. So now there are two ways the process can go. Now what do we see here is that I'm looking for that arrow and I don't see arrow. So what I do is I simply go here, type arrow. It will pull up all the different type of arrows which are right there as part of this version of the software. So it is going to pull up over there, and we need to wait for a little while just to make sure that we get that. Now what do we see? It pulls up all the different type of arrows. So we want a very basic simple arrow. So we want a very basic arrow. And then now we move it. So now we say customer placing the, let me make it a little bigger so that we can see. Now this has two ways to go. Either the order can be successful or the order can not be successful. So let's assume that there are two ways. One says order placed. So this is kind of a question that whether this is successful or not. So let's say if it is yes, it moves to the next. But before that, I completely forgot to add up here. The process starts here. You have to have a starting point. You have to notate the start and the end, and you have to use the same symbol to do that. You have to use for any process, you have to use this symbol. For any decision making, you have to use this decision diamond shape. So let's say the process started and the customer trying to place the order. Now if the order is placed, there are two ways it can go. So if we are saying just whatever you think that is unnecessary, remove it. So here we are saying that it is yes. No, I don't want this. Here, edit text. No, I don't want that. Okay. So now it is asking me, see here the symbols. Is the process is going to end? So if it is no, I put here the end. What does that mean? That means if the order does not go successfully, the process ends over here. Whereas if the process does go successfully, I would just put a process. Then it goes to the shipment department. It goes to the data is sent to the shipment department. Let's say the shipment department is able to successfully receive that order. Then what will happen? The shipment department is going to, but before that I add up. I'm just trying to showcase, this is just an example. You can create in your own way. As long as the information, the requirement which we are trying to showcase is same, you can create it in a different way. I'm just trying to showcase how you can enhance the diagram. So let's say if I say the shipment department have a process of receiving the data. Now there is sub-process, and that sub-process says that, okay, so now this sub-process says here, find customer order. So now it is trying to find out what is that order, what customer have ordered. Now let's say, then again you could have a, see here, I'll just add up to say that either the customer details is not found. If the customer order is not found, the process will end over here. On the other hand, if the customer detail is found, which this gives the opposite arrow, which we need to fix it. Now, if the customer order is found, then what will happen? It will say something like process order, and then process order. Let's say if I want to just extend that further, I can say that print shipment invoice. Once the shipment invoice is done, then what happens? Then the process ends. So this is kind of a ending point what I want to showcase. So this is my simple basic flow chart which I can come up with for the requirement which I am writing in. So this is your basic flow chart. Now the thing which you need to understand over here is, let's say these are the two different departments. So for shipment department, your ordering department is altogether different unit. So what you can use is, you may say that, okay, this is the external data which is coming from the ordering area and you are sending it to the shipment department. So there are many ways depending upon what you are trying to say. Now at the same time, think about, there is two symbols which I want to showcase over here. So let's say this is on page. Think about it, this process is so big that it is not going to fit into the single page. So there are two references, two ways to refer that. For example, it says on-page reference and off-page. So let's say if something is over here and another thing is over here, if I need to connect these two, I'm not going to put arrow and crossing out all the diagrams. What I will do is, I may say that, okay, this is over here and I will make this as I just say, for example, A. Then I will take another one and let's say that A needs to be connected with this, for example. So I would say that, okay, this is also A. And then I use that arrow to connect it. So what it does is, and then here also I'll take the arrow and then connect. So now what happened, I know this process has further continuation over here also, and that continuation is over here. That's where I'm explaining it. So these two dots, that means these two dots are connected. So I don't have to use an arrow which is going to cut all the diagrams and come across to connect with the another point. So that is the use of on-page reference. Now there could be the possibility you have some diagrams on page 1. You add up one more page and now you want to link something from this page to page 2. Then how do you do that? Then you use off-page reference. So you take this, for example, take it here. See what it says. It says connect to new page. If you are going to create a new page, you can type a name over here. If you have an existing page, so see, it is going to show me all the page which already exists. So right now I already have a page 2 where assume that there is some diagram. I just put page 2, page 2. So you see this automatically comes up. See here, I'll again show you. You may not notice this. We are going to remove this. Go back over here. Delete this. So now our page 2 is blank. We don't have anything. And we want to connect this, for example, shipment department. Now here it says page 1. It is going to create page 1. If I click OK, it is going to create page 1. But I am just going to connect with page 2. See page 2. OK. And it automatically creates a connector. So if you have a data which just goes across two different pages, you can use the on-page reference and the off-page reference to connect that. There are some kind of a connector. Given the point of time you are using the older version of Visio, you don't have that connector, then what you do, you have these type of symbols in the older version too. So you just take this, make it as A here rather than assume that this A is in this page. So what you can do is you can take the same page over here and just make it as A. So what will happen, we know this A is going to connect somewhere, and then when we come to the page 2, we will see A will automatically understand that, oh, that page 1A connects in page 2 over here. So you just have to showcase how you can connect two objects. What is that connector? Some tools have given the flexibility of a separate notation which says as a connector or the reference. Some tools doesn't have that, but doesn't matter because there is a way to do that as well. Because when we used to use the prior version of it, we didn't have this reference on page or off page. So we used to connect it using some symbol notating that, okay, this is my A and this A is going to connect to some other place. So this is your basic flowchart. Now let's talk about the other type of a diagram. So I'm just going to add a new page and then I'm going to go insert. and going to see. Okay, yeah, sorry. So here is something which I want to showcase, cross-functional flowchart. This is what I was looking for. So when you go to cross-functional flowchart, what do you see? We talked about this, swim lane. Now in swim lane, you have two ways to do it. You have the vertical way to showcase the area, and you have the horizontal way to do that. So let's remove one of them because I just wanted to showcase for the example. And then we are going to take it forward and create one swim lane as well. Now, so we see here, let's move this over here. So this is our swim lane, what we are trying to create. So it says that, for example, let's say title. The title, I just say order management. In order management, what happens? In order management, what are the functional area you can think about it? According to me, what I think is that you have the number one functional area is the retail site. For example, we are talking about the order management which is happening online. So which is your retail site. The another area I could think about is your ordering department. Ordering department. The next area I could think of is the warehouse. Warehouse. The other area I could think about is shipment. So these are the different areas which we just talked about, which can be in place. Again, this is just an example. I am showcasing how you can use each of the diagrams. Now think of this is something kind of a separator. You can use it to just divide it. Okay. You see here how it is phase wise. So you could have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, like that you can divide it. But here what I'm trying to showcase is I go back to the shapes, and what happens, I say the process starts over here. Pay attention to the things, you will automatically understand. The process starts. When the process starts, then it goes, the customer place the order. So I say that, okay, the order department may receive or may not receive. Let's say if it does receive, then what will happen? If it does receive, it is going to have a sub-process. Let's say if it doesn't, it is going to end the process. Same thing, but the different way of notation. That's what is happening. Now, if it does receive the sub-process which will be triggered, the sub-process will say that, okay, check warehouse availability. Now, when you talk about warehouse availability, what you can have is you are going to have a decision making on the warehouse side, and where it maybe it's not available. So the process ends. If it does available, then what happens? You have a process, and process says the item available. Once the item is available, what you are going to do? You are going to send it to the shipment. It is sent to the shipment. Now when that shipment is, let's say, received or not received, something like, then you add a decision box. Let's say it is received. I'm assuming that over here just to make sure that we cover up. So let's say the shipment is received. Then what happens? The shipment is received. Then what you do? You print the invoice. Invoice printed, and then process ends. So if you pay attention, what we just did, we created all the different functional areas. See, look at how your system looks like. How your data is flowing between one functional unit to another functional unit. So this is exactly how you use the SimLane diagram. This is exactly how you are going to create the basic flowchart or cross-functional flowchart, which is also called as a SimLane diagram. So this is the same example which we have notated in a two different views. And this is how you are going to do it. When you are working on the project, you have the opportunity, whether you want to detail out everything, so what exactly the need of it. That is very much important for you to understand what exactly the need of the stakeholder, what they are trying to understand. And that is what is going to give you an opportunity to decide what kind of a diagram you are going to use it and how you are going to use it. Because that is the way you are going to determine, that is the way you are going to understand which diagram is more suitable to answer the questions of the stakeholders, and that is going to benefit you in terms of elaborating your requirement. So this is exactly your SimLane diagram. Now let's look at what other things do we have over here. Is there any other thing which we need to understand? Now see, now we go to more shapes. Now when we go to more shapes, what do we do? When we go to more shapes, let's first of all, let's save this document so that you have a reference point for future. And you can just go on, and I'll just save it on the desktop so that I can find it. So this is my UML flowchart example. So I just keep it on the desktop. Now what exactly we are going to do? We are going to add another page, and then we are going to have more shapes, which is going to give me again all those options. You see here, business, flowchart, general, maps. So the first time when we loaded the screen, what are the different type of diagrams we received? Those are the exact type of diagrams what we are going to learn over here, and these are the diagrams which gives you the opportunity to pick another type of diagram. So let's talk a little more about the brainstorming. Okay, we will talk about each of that so that we understand more over what exactly the things are. Brainstorming, you see here, brainstorming shapes. What are those shapes? Let's look at it. What kind of a topic you have? What topic you are trying to explore? What is your main topic? Where exactly it starts? And then how your main topic can be broken down into multiple topics. You see here? So you are talking multiple topics over here. Very less likely you are going to use all these diagrams. So I just don't want you to just spend more time on these things. The main time you need to spend is, this is your brainstorming. So I'm just going to make this rename as brainstorming. Now we are going to look at some more. But before this, I just want to name it lab. And I'm just thinking whether I should say SimLane or cross-functional, but either case, you should understand that. Okay, I would say cross-function or SimLane, so that you understand that. Then there is no confusion. Then the next page, we are going to do another type of diagram. And again, see here we do not see anything related to activity diagram or something like that. So let's try to see. What do we get? What does it say? No match. And why is that? Because there is no such thing you are going to find it like that. Similarly, if I put sequence, what it is going to say? It is going to say you're not going to find. But if I type this is wrong. It should say you have to have a way of searching through it. Okay, it is not pulling up. So that means this version doesn't support that. So again, it comes down to the number of versions which you are working on. The version which you are working on to say what kind of a symbol you are looking for. So what I am looking over here is activator. There are many tools which uses the different terminology. No match. But if I say nothing, so that means we are not able to find. Okay, let's first hold on. Let's save it. Or the other diagram. But let's talk about, which is a very good example which we can cover today. So let's talk about the state diagram. Okay, and yes, I would like to have the question taken. State diagram. In the state diagram, as it says, we are just trying to showcase the state of it. We are not doing anything else. So for example, the process starts here. Let's take a bank ATM example. The process starts here, and we are talking about withdraw amount. This is the process. To complete the withdraw amount, what are the process we are going to have? We are going to have the process something like insert ATM card, that is the sequence. But what is the final state? The final state is going to be something which is going to say the card accepted. And this card accepted is going to be the state. I just need the arrow. I just don't want to go back and then search again. Card accepted. Then another state could be your PIN accepted. If I say enter insert card, that is your activity. If I say enter PIN, that is your activity. But I am saying PIN accepted, that means this is after the fact. So PIN accepted. Then what will happen? What will be the process? The process will be enter amount. Enter amount is a process. While system is processing that, you perform that activity. What will be the final state? The final state would something comes down to be amount accepted, and then you have a final process where you have, or in between you can just have a decision box also, that if the amount is not accepted, what will happen? not over here, like this. So what we did, pin accepted. If the pin accepted, then it can go two routes. It can be either your amount is accepted or your amount is not accepted. So let's say if the amount is accepted, then what happens? Then your withdrawal completed. I'll just delete this and then add so that the arrow comes up on its own. Process ends. If it doesn't, I'll take this off. It doesn't, then what happens? Then also process ends. But before this process ends, what exactly is going to happen? What will be the final state? The final state would be, again I'll just take this off. What will be the intermediate sub-process? Card ejected. And then this will end the process. So this is a simple state chart diagram, but the moment I break it down into multiple steps, into the multiple number of steps which I am going to perform, it is going to become my activity diagram. That is the key difference. In the state chart, you talk about what happened after doing that activity. In the activity diagram, you don't talk about the state. You just talk about the activity, that step 1 this, step 2 this, step 3 this, like that, and so forth, so on. You just move on. So this is exactly the way you are going to, when you are designing any diagram, this is exactly how you are going to proceed, making sure all of your steps. If you are doing the activity diagram, you need to follow through the activity. If you are doing the state diagram, you need to follow through the different phases, the different state, what the system will go through, what the requirement will go through after the fact when your activity is performed, and then what will be the final state you will end up with. So this is what the different type of diagrams you are going to have in place, which will give you the flexibility in terms of explaining what exactly you are trying to notate. So again, the question is, how do you decide which diagram to go for when you are working as a business analyst? The deciding authority is you, but at what basis, under what circumstances you are going to do that, that is driven by the kind of a requirement you have. So for example, if the stakeholder is unable to understand each of the activity which is going to happen to complete that requirement, you are going to design the activity diagram. In other words, you are just trying to see what are the different phases the system will go through. You're talking about the phases. You're talking about the final state, what the system or the requirement will go through. You decide to create the state chart diagram. Let's say you are working on the users just want to see the overall flow, how the system looks like, current state or the future state. You will simply go and do the flow chart. Let's say you are trying to create a network diagram. There are multiple applications interacting with each other, and you need to showcase how those interactions are happening over the in the organization. You create the network diagram. So depending upon what kind of an information you have, and using that information, what kind of and how detailed level of diagrams, the notations you can come up with, that is what you are going to do, and that is the value of using the UML. So rather than just someone trying to translate what you have just explained, so one statement can be translated into multiple ways. But the moment you elaborate it using the diagrams, using the notations, that becomes universal. Because these languages are universal language. If you say start, meaning start for no matter which country, which region you are in. The UML symbols are going to be same. That is not going to change, because now you have elaborated the flow of it. And this completes the examples of Visio which we have just learned as part of this.